So what is the future of VR gaming? Me and Ryan are going to talk about it right here on Platform Gamer Podcast, which starts right now. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here on the podcast. Once again, it is January. What is this? The 4th. Yeah, 4th, isn't it? 4th, 6th?
Today's the 6th, yeah.
6th, okay. 2021. I got my dates all confused, as I tend to do sometimes. But nevertheless, thank you all for joining us. If you like what you will hear today, or if you've checked out any of our older stuff, make sure we would greatly appreciate you guys giving us a smash button on the likes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on that bell for all notifications, so that way you are notified of all Platform Gamer Podcast episodes that we do right here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Platform Gamer P1, and you can reach us on Facebook at Platform Gamer Podcast. Also, if you want to listen to our episodes in audio form, you can check those out on Podbean and Spotify. Just go into the search engine and follow us and type in Platform Gamer Podcast, and we should pop right on up for you. So, getting all that spiel out of the way, Ryan, welcome back to the show, Mr. Ryan MacDonald.
Thank you so much for having me again, Desmond. I had such a good time last time. I couldn't resist the invitation to come back. So.
Well, good. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. So, I'm sure you had a wonderful new year. I hope all of you had a wonderful new year out there. And we're going to go ahead and kick this thing right on off, shall we? So, we wanted to get into this discussion because Ryan owns a VR. I own a VR. DeMar does not, so who cares about him? No, I'm just kidding. But, we wanted to get on here, and I invited Ryan on so we could do a discussion about the future gaming of VR. Like, where do we see VR going into the future? Right now, it seems like it's still in the baby step mode, but it has done better financially for a lot of companies, maybe more than they expected. Now that the Oculus Rift 2 or the Oculus Quest 2 is out, and that actually has been selling very well. PlayStation VR still showing signs of life, hanging on in there. Still, one of the big sellers also. But we hear that these two companies really have been kind of at the forefront right now. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think those are our major three. We got Oculus and their Rift and the Rift and the Quest, and then PlayStation VR and Steam with their Vive. I think
that's right.
Yeah, those are three main players there, but by far and away the most popular are the Oculus Quest and the PlayStation VR. And so I think currently we are in that first iteration. I think it's currently in more people's hands than ever before, but it's still has to get that mainstream. Most people who have a game console have a VR headset of some type in their house. For me personally, I'd love it for it to reach that point someday, and I think that is a possibility. But yeah, there's a lot of improvements they got to make before we get there, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think with a lot of the steps that they're taking now, PlayStation, I know, did a lot of like experimentation with their VR by releasing a lot of like experience games, not actual like full games at first, where you would play like a level or you would check out something in VR. They'll have like little demos of just like little trinkets of games to kind of just like almost like a demo disc, where you would kind of check out what they're kind of bringing to the table. And then we started seeing more fully fledged games come out. And then we got a lot more of the smaller developers making games, such as, games like Job Simulator, stuff like that, for mainly the kids, because the kids kind of like a lot of that Job Simulator stuff. And but now I think PlayStation, for the most part, has decided that they're still going to do some of those games that's catered to the younger audiences. But I think when it comes to broadening their horizon and really trying to show off the VR, I think they really stepped it up for the adults, like the Walking Dead games, Half-Life, games like that. There was even like
Blood.
Yeah, yep. So there's so many like different games now, and Star Wars too. One of the latest ones to come out has been selling very well, specifically for the VR version of that game. So it's a true testament to what they can do and the direction that they should go in. So I'm really torn because I want VR to succeed. Really, really want VR to succeed.
Yeah.
But I fear that it's going to be that time where I don't want it to become a novelty act, kind of like what we thought about like the Virtual Boy when that first came out. Everybody, it was this like big hot item. Everybody wanted to get it. Then they checked it out and be like, yeah, this thing is trash. So it's like, I don't want it to fall into that category. I don't really see that happening, but there's always that fear in the back of my head about something like that. What about you?
Yeah, especially at the beginning when they first announced the PSVR, I got to try it out at the first PlayStation experience. And I loved it. I was on board immediately. I knew I was going to get that thing day one. But I also, was worried that what if they put it out and it's like a Virtual Boy? There's some cool things on it and that's it. Or
right.
The PlayStation Vita, they support it for a little while and then nothing else after a while. So I was worried it could become like a gimmick, but I mean this generation alone, I've been really impressed by how they've continued to support it. They keep putting out titles like Astrobot or Rush of Blood, Iron Man VR, Vader Immortal getting ported over. Like they have been continuing the steady flow of games that are there if you have PSVR, which I think is a really good sign of their like commitment to the platform. And I think someone from Sony, I think Shuhei Yoshida, said that they're approaching the PlayStation VR like the PS1. Like this is, base level. They're like, this is our introduction to VR. It's not going to be the one that takes the masses by storm. It's not going to be the one where they're pouring hundreds of millions of dollars all into this one, but this is the start. And they're going to continue on from here. And I know they have the next one in development. Like they said they're working on the successor. But I do think that the next one needs to be the one where they design improvements so that it can reach the masses, that it becomes more than just a one and done or just a small niche of the gaming market.
I agree. I think they should basically hop over treating it like the PlayStation 2 and just skip right to PlayStation 3. If you want to say it like that. I think there's so much potential there with VR, especially like the Oculus Quest. I got to say, just the fact that, number one, it's wireless. That's a huge advantage right there over the PlayStation VR, where you still have the wire connected, even though it's a nicely long wire because you got all that space. But I think what sets the Oculus apart is that they can give you more high quality games in that 4K. And even, with some of the frame rates on a lot of the games, they can push 60 frames on that easy. And I think that's a true testament to what who owns it? Facebook, don't it? Don't they own the Oculus? Yeah. So I think they've done a really, really good job really harnessing the power of just something that you just put over your head. Like you don't even need a PC. That's another huge plus. No PC, comes with like 64 gigs right out the gate. So it's nice and it's affordable. It really is affordable.
Yeah,
so
you hit the nail on the head. I think two of the biggest improvements that PlayStation's got to make to PSVR are they have to get rid of the wires. They have to make it easily accessible. I think even as for someone who owns it, I use it less than I'd like to because it is so difficult. You got to get that breakout box and make sure that we'll run the wires over the coffee table. And you put it on, you got this whole big wire behind your head. The great VR experience that is just like another step that you have to get over before you're going to enjoy VR as much as possible. So I do hope in the next iteration, that's something they focus on, getting rid of that wire. maybe not Oculus Quest, you can use it on an airplane, use it anywhere. You still have to be near your PlayStation to be running the thing. But
Right.
not being physically tethered to the PlayStation while you're playing, I think is a big deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely. Because for me, like I move around a lot when I'm in VR. So I could be facing the TV and then next thing you know, I'm almost like in the next room. So like I don't need that tether there.
Right.
So but
Yeah.
I think the future really is bright in the world of VR, especially with a lot of these platformers. And who knows? I mean, Stadia may eventually come out with one. Xbox may eventually come out with one if the niche becomes bigger than what it is now.
Yeah.
Like I said, with it just being still in the baby step phase, I think it's going to really start growing up and making that leap, and more people will be transitioning over to using the VR, which in turn gives it a better, I want to say a better type of platform versus just playing it on a flat screen TV.
Oh yeah.
And you've got so many, and I think the biggest genre that takes the best advantage of it so far that I've noticed is first person horror games.
It is unlike anything else to be playing Resident Evil 7 in first person. Nope, I can't do it. No. You're a horror fan, there's got to be nothing better. But for me, it is intense having, you're there when it's happening.
See, for me, I think you could take like the hardest thug and put that VR on him and be like, yeah, try this on. Yeah, and put him in that world. I think he'll be scared too. But nevertheless, it's like I love the fact that like it can transport you into that world, into that atmosphere. And that's what games are all about. It's an escape. Yeah. It should be an escape for, instead of trying to, we've got all the real realities of the world with all of its problems. I'm not saying it's a solution to it, but I think it's a nice escape, for, an hour or 2, 3 hours tops, because you don't want to be in there too long. Yeah. Be like me and freaking be in Skyrim, sit down somewhere and then fall asleep and then wake up thinking you're actually there. You're like, oh yeah, it's still on my head.
So. And it helps us experience things that you just wouldn't otherwise,
right.
Even one of the first experiences that came out on PSVR was the ocean cage, the deep or the dive, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. I'm never going to go in a shark cage myself, but I got to in VR Worlds, and I got to go down wildlife and then get attacked by a shark. That's a crazy experience that I got to have through PSVR. That nothing like that in real life for me.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with Star Wars Squadrons. It's like this is the next closest thing to actually flying like an X-wing or a TIE fighter. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Playing it on a flat screen wouldn't be the same at all.
No.
So I think from an experience standpoint, I think VR is really gonna shoot to the moon if they continue to push in the direction that they're doing, and they're giving people more options with those games. I think that's another huge thing, is giving people options. Like, okay, you don't want to do the horror thing, you can do the racing games. Oh, you're not big on the racing games? Well, you can just do something like a golf. Like I have a golf game for mine, and it's so fun. So. And then there's shooting games on there too, where you could just, sit there and shoot all day. I mean, it's so much stuff that you can do with the VR, and they're really starting to take advantage of that. So when it comes to the more of the future aspect of it, I mean, obviously PlayStation VR 2, whatever it decides to be, we'll call that the project name. I can tell you right now, it's not coming out this year.
No,
it's I feel it would be too soon. It would take away for the sales of the PlayStation 5, because now you buy that and now you're broke. So so I think with them, I could see a 2022 release, possibly a 2023. But if they do bring it out in 2022, earliest I could see it is holiday season.
Yeah, I think so. I think Right. I think they want one holiday season with the PS5 where it's actually going to be in stock on store shelves. It's
Exactly.
one. And then yeah, I think following holiday season which is exactly the same time that they released the last PlayStation VR. Yeah, I think that they would have it at end of 2022 is when I would suspect that we're going to see something.
So, but we do have some things that we do know about that they are working on for the PlayStation VR 2. I do know that they have stated, I believe the CEO of um, the of Sony America. There we go. I was trying to get it out. PlayStation Studios America has said that they've already got a bunch of patents in place. They are working on making it wireless. So that's one huge thing they've taken and helped out with.
Yeah.
The new one will support 4K, which will be
awesome.
Dope. I love that. So now we get that true like look to it. And I think this is like a true stepping stone. And I think they're trying something different with the wireless. They're trying to have it to where as if the RHF signal that's in the PlayStation 5, it's going to run off of that signal. Almost like a Bluetooth, but not quite Bluetooth, almost like an antenna type signal. So that way it's easier to register and you can do more with it. The motion controllers with the ball at the end will no longer be there. That
is desperately needed.
Yeah.
That works for PlayStation VR, but the worst of the controllers for the VR platforms. And yeah, an upgrade sorely needed.
Yeah, so I think they're gonna go almost the route of the Oculus, which I actually like their controllers. They're very comfortable. Yeah. They're easy to kind of get on and off. And the way that I seen on the patent, they have the controller like on the side, and then your hand slots fit through there, and then you can just like pull down on the strap and it's on.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the way they want to go with those. And another thing that I like with the VR being wireless is that it'll have an internal battery. So it'll be just like the controllers where you could just plug it in and then it'll charge.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I'm just hoping the battery life's going to be long enough.
Yeah, that's going to be tricky to get the battery life enough so that it's not super heavy on your head.
Right.
I'm hopeful.
Like the whole back areas is covered with 4D batteries. That's not going to work.
No.
But the potential as far as the games go, I mean, if there was some games that you would like to see, I mean, it doesn't have to be like a huge list or anything, but just name off 2 or 3 games that you think would really be able to take advantage of the VR2 for PlayStation and Oculus as far as like graphical gameplay, the style, the immersion, all of that. I mean, what games do you see kind of, whether it's like an already made IP or a new IP?
Yeah. I think games that are specifically designed for VR are, I think, the best iterations of games we get. Like Beat Saber. I can't play that game any other way than VR. VR is clearly what it's been designed for, and it is excellent. It is nothing feels better than hitting the notes perfectly in a section. I love it. But I do think that I would like some first-person games to be, or more first-person games to be transferred over to VR, something like Skyrim or Fallout 4. I'd love to see, once they fix all the bugs and everything, I'd love to see like a VR implementation of Cyberpunk.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Cyberpunk and VR, take my money.
I mean, it's good enough for the current PlayStations to display the city in 2D, so I'm not sure how hard it would be to do it in VR. But being able to see Night City and be in Night City, like be able to look around and see everything, I think that would be awesome. And I think the gameplay lends itself pretty well to a VR experience, so that would be something.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it lends itself very well. You actually hit the nail on the head. I think it's just the matter of, walking around Night City and like, I mean, when you're playing it like just on the TV screen, you could see how alive Night City is. But to actually be like feeling like you're actually in it, oh man, that's a whole nother experience altogether. So I could totally see CD Projekt Red doing something like that, and it's already like a graphical powerhouse on the PC, so
Right.
it'll look amazing on in VR for all of them.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like that pick. That's a really good pick.
What about you, Desmond?
So for me, if I had to say if there was one game that I would like to see ported over, but increased graphics and really make use of the immersion of the VR, Battlefield 1.
Okay, yeah.
I would love to play Battlefield 1 in VR because number one, everything's destructible, so that'll be already the fun part.
Oh, yeah.
And I think just going in as a squad, especially if you're just doing like the single player missions, like that very first start where you play as a soldier, and you're like in those trenches, in the mud, in the rain, like just everything just makes you feel like you're there, and it gives you that thing like, oh man, am I about to get PTSD playing this game or something? I think with that type of true immersion, I think that could really take advantage of it. And something like that too, I would love to see a football game like that.
Okay.
Like think of it like NFL Quarterback Club from back in the day. If you took that and just made a VR version where you're just the quarterback, that would be fun because then you could just take the ball and like you could take a couple steps back if you got enough room in your house anyway. Take a couple steps back, throw the ball. The physics would feel real because it all depends on how far you throw. Your accuracy is always going to be on point. The graphics are going to look good. You can actually use the thing like on your wrist, how they do in the real games. You can actually make doing it right off of that. Yeah. A game, I think it was a game for the Rift. I think it was for the Rift.
Okay.
That took advantage of like this. It's just like a little small like football sports game type deal. And I really like the utilization of what they did with it. Graphically, it wasn't like the greatest, but it was a nice stepping stone. So I think seeing something like that beefed up, even if it wasn't an NFL type game, just something that's going to make you feel like you're really in the game, and then really make use of the microphone that's built in, so it actually goes on voice commands. When you say hut or whatever, like the game will react to that. That would be amazing.
That'd be really cool.
So, but those are just a couple of my picks that I think would be really cool. I think in the horror aspect of it, I could see. I could definitely see it's actually one that I'm kind of working on as far as like writing for it. I would like to see an Aliens Colonial Marines game in VR.
Oh yeah. You
get a squad like 3 or 4 guys with you. You've got your headsets, you're talking to each other, you're in this world, and you're like the aim controller. That's where they can come out with a new aim controller. But you can use that, and then it'll make you feel like you're there. And there's aliens everywhere, and face huggers and everything. But,
huggers. I don't know if I could deal with them.
Like, oh snap! But I think if these types of games are done right and done to the point that people could get invested in all of these games. In all honesty, VR can take off like nobody's business. Everybody will be like, I got to get a VR just for that.
Yeah. I think both Oculus and PlayStation have done a good job of designing games specifically for VR. Facebook has funded a lot of the Star Wars games that are going directly to Oculus, and they used to work with Insomniac Studios to make some exclusive titles like, I can't remember the name of the space game they worked on. They had an entire space game with a whole multiplayer aspect to it that they worked on with Insomniac. And so, I think like they have done a good job of that, but I think that needs to go up even more in the next generation. I think that, building these titles that have all the love and care built into them and make you, like go, oh my gosh, this is only VR could do this.
Right.
Important because those moments are awesome. We're just like, wow, I can't believe I experienced that.
It's the next best thing since Star Trek holograms, let me tell you. We'll be one step closer to a holodeck. I'm telling you, it's
Oh, yeah.
coming. We'll be doing VR without having the headset on. But no, I really like the direction that all of these companies are going in. I think it's a true testament, as long as they stay on track and not backtrack by doing a bunch more of like experience games and stuff. Give
Yeah.
us true to life games like, like we just listed off, and then games that could take full advantage of it. I mean, there's third party ones. Astrobot did a fantastic job as a third person, view type game.
Yeah.
You can do games like that in
Mhm.
VR, and it would work out perfectly fine.
Yeah, Astrobot, great example of something that's designed specifically for VR, where you have to look around as your character's going, and people compare that to like Mario 64 for like
Yeah.
this is VR as Mario 64. I mean, it is so polished and made with so much love and care, and it is so perfect for VR. I definitely want to see more experiences like that, and I think that same kind of idea would translate well to like third parties and other types of games for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that I think they should definitely invest in, because now they'll be at the point with especially with the VR2 and the Oculus, they would be in a position that they can give us those high quality games. Like, they don't have to be low level. Like, you can have a few indie games that are going to be kind of low level, which is fine. But I think the future's in VR. And I think what they can really do with a lot of these games, because I've seen them do it before, where you only have to buy the one game and it's cross media. So you can play it in VR. Star Wars does that. If you want to play it just on a regular screen, you can do that. If you want to play it in VR, you can do that. But it still is the exact same game. It's not like you get the VR one and then you just get the experience of like a couple of levels and that's it. It's not nothing like that, but you're getting the full effect of playing it on a regular flat screen and in VR. So I think if more games start utilizing that type of system, the sales will go up a lot more for them. Yes, it will cost a little bit more because now they're basically doing it for two types of platforms.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I feel that they could make that money back, because those people who didn't get a VR before will have that game and be like, you know what? I want to try this game in virtual reality. And they'll be able to do that when they purchase those VR systems. So I think there's a huge, from a business aspect, there's a huge profit pot just ready to explode. So
yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. If you already know that you have like half the games you own have a full-on VR, not just experience, but could be played in VR, well, if I buy a VR, I can play all these games on it already. I don't have to go out and buy all these separate games. And then you'd be experiencing all this and want to buy it more. So I agree. I think that is a great move to widen the adoption.
Yeah. Another thing that I want to talk about is, I'm very curious as to what they've done, especially with the Oculus, since that one's already out, what they've done as far as dealing with people who have like motion sickness, who gets headaches, like how much of that has diminished over time as far as like them bringing that out. Like, because I'm sure they've probably thought of that, like, all right, we need to do this. Like, I've seen where somebody did a concept art of a VR headset. It was just some random one they made, and it had a fan built in, so that fan would blow on you, so you don't feel like you're about to get motion sickness. I think that's probably the biggest obstacle that they'll run into, is people getting motion sickness, because sometimes the motion is too intense. Not so much like intense, like, oh my god, I gotta get tensed up, but it's more like the VR experience is so strong that their brain and their eyes aren't matching up. They're not synced up. So it throws them completely out of whack, their equilibrium and everything. And then, they get sick. And I think that's probably the biggest hurdle they'll have to deal with.
Yeah, I think, there's like so many, layers to what kind of contributes to the motion sickness aspect. But I think developers have done a good job, I think most recently, of including a lot of settings in their games that you can turn on and off or adjust to make the experience better for you specifically, whether it's turning with a click wheel instead of smooth motion however you want, or quick turns, the field of view dials on a little bit,
down,
peripheral moving around. I mean, they've come up with some pretty clever ideas, I think. And it would be cool if each platform could have you save your preferred settings too, so you don't have to dial it in for every game. I think that'd make it easier for people to jump in and say, oh yeah, nope, I can't do this type of experience. Like that's
right. Yeah, I agree with that one. I think doing it that way would make it a lot easier. It will give people a chance. And still moving games, I think is the way to start. I did a video a while back that I posted on Facebook about it was right around like Christmas time, sometime after Christmas and New Year's or something, but it was a few years ago. And I kind of did like not a tutorial, but more like a tips and tricks on if you're new to VR, this is where you should start with.
uh-huh.
And if you're new to VR and you really want to get into it, I think playing games that is, if you're standing in one spot, is the way to start.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I liked about the PlayStation disc, because there's some games where you could stay in one spot. There's some games like the Shark Cage one, where you're dropping down, but you're dropping down slow, so it's kind of easing you in. And then there's that one where you kind of lay down like you're on a skateboard or something. You're rolling down there. That's got a little bit more moving faster, but that's how you can learn to adjust and get your brain, adjusted to it. Because when I played Eve Valkyrie for like the first 2 minutes in, I was ready to hurl. I was like, whoa, this isn't gonna work. So, but I knew I had to stop, take a break. And that's another thing people need to realize too. Just because you're in VR, that don't mean if you start to get sick, just keep going. Don't do that. That's a mistake. Like immediately pause the game or just take it off your head. But I had to do it kind of in baby steps. So I would go, I'll start off going like 5 minutes, and then I'll stop, take a break, come back, do another 5 minutes. So now I can play that game now, 3-4 hours, no problem. So it's just a matter of just getting your brain used to it. Because if you're new to VR, your brain is not used to that type of motion and everything, with everything moving except you. Yeah. So it throws your equilibrium completely off. And I think that's still to this day is still one of the dangers of having VR, because especially if you're a person with some type of like not mental sickness or anything, but more like you have like you could break out into seizures or something like that, because you could run into a situation where you'd have a really bad seizure. And I think that's something, before you pick up a VR and you're gonna worried about a situation like that, you should definitely speak to your doctor first and see what they say and see what they recommend for you. So
yeah, definitely.
So but what do you guys think out there on this whole thing with VR? We see the future it could potentially be, but what future do you guys see it be? Make sure you comment down below and let us know your thoughts. Ryan, thank you so much again for being on the show. Did you have any last minute things you'd like to say?
No, I think that's everything. I'm very excited to see what comes out with our new updates to these VR systems. And yeah, I know from what I've experienced, I'll always be interested in VR, and I can't wait to see what forms it takes in the future.
Oh God, yeah. I think more multiplayer VR games is the way to go too. I think, especially like if you guys are like squad based, like Firewall. I'd love to see more games like Firewall, like tactical shooters like that. That would be amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us here today. We really appreciate it. I think we got pretty much a lot of the stuff we wanted to say. I know we didn't really touch too much on racing games. I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory. Get me into a racing game in VR, I'm there. But it's that type of season. It's that type of season. VR is starting to be on the come up. And even now, the sales for them are still pretty strong.
Yeah.
Especially, like I said, with that Oculus coming in. So, again, thank you guys all for joining us. Ryan, thank you again for joining me on the show. Greatly appreciate it. You guys take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.